welcome my friends, my family, my compatriots to a new episode of Superhero Deep Dive. As always, I am your host, Jason. I have a pretty good one scheduled for today. This one is a very obscure character. Admittedly, I had known this character in viewing only. I really didn't know a lot about Snowbird from Alpha Flight and Marvel Comics, but let's get into her. We will check this out together. Let me get my disclaimers out of the way and we will just jump into it. So, the information is pulled from different sources across the internet and may or may not be completely complete, but they do give a really good insight on the current superhero. You can catch me every Tuesday and Thursday throughout the day on Outworld Fleet Radio. Their website is outworldfleetradio.online. You can catch me on X and Instagram under Super Deep Dive. And you can catch me on TikTok under Superhero Deep Dive, where I do post superhero memes every day. You can catch me on YouTube under Superhero Deep Dive, which is honestly the best way to reach me. If you subscribe, comment, like, all that good stuff, it would mean a lot. Hit the notification bell. I would really appreciate it. If you want, you can always email me directly at b4itall@yahoo.com. So before we get into Snowbird, let's do an Alpha Flight fun fact. Wolverine was initially supposed to lead Alpha Flight, but after Wolverine's enhancement and escape from the Weapon X facility that bonded adamantium to his bones and claws, he was brought back from the brink by James Mac Hudson and his wife Heather, who would later go on to be Guardian and Vindicator 2, respectively. James, who had created a powered battlesuit, worked with Logan to create the initial version of the team known as The Flight. Wolverine led the first field team in a disastrous mission with many casualties, leaving their plans uncertain and their relationship damaged. His initial failure was ultimately part of Logan's decision to leave the team, while Hudson helped further develop his battlesuit and the flight program with Department H. So, yeah. But let's get into Snowbird, who is kind of like a background character in all the Alpha Flight comics. Her real name is Naria, and several thousand years before Snowbird's birth, an immensely powerful and malevolent Arctic spirit, Tundra, sealed the northern gods, including the Inuit goddess Nelvana, within a mystical barrier in another dimension, rendering them incapable of defending the mortal realm of Earth. Through clever persuasion and trickery, Nelvana bargained with Tundra to strip her of her godly powers so that she could pass through the barrier and find a mate with a male human of Earth. Nelvana appeared before a man named Richard Easton, insisting upon mating with him to produce a child who would grow to battle the evil, mystical Great Beasts of Canada. Easton reluctantly agreed, and the two conceived Snowbird sometime in the early 20th century near Resolute Bay. And that's in the Northwest Territories of Canada, apparently. Now, years later, after having been driven mad by his experience in the spirit realm, Easton worked a spell to summon and control Tundra and was horribly burned up by the completion of the summoning. He only controlled Tundra for a brief period, and Tundra's manifestation was destroyed by Marina. Now, Michael Two Youngman, also known as Shaman, was chosen to serve as midwife to Nelvana when she gave birth. Shaman is probably the more correct term. A shaman named the child Naria. Why can I not pronounce things today? Shaman named the child Naria, used a spell to bind her to the earthly realm, and agreed to raise her in his cabin in the Canadian wilderness. Naria grew at a rapid rate, and it was discovered that she possessed supernatural abilities, most notably that she could transform into any animal native to Canada, gaining the attributes of that creature while in its guise. In addition, she possesses the ability to fly, to sense mystic and magical power, limited precognition and postcognition, and a limited degree of super strength. What is postcognition? Is that the same thing as hindsight? Wow, maybe we shouldn't have done that. Because I have that too then. And my postcognition is smart, and it's powerful, because it's like, Jason, you really shouldn't have done this. All right. However, she is unable to leave Canada's borders without instantly falling ill due to the literal effects of the binding spell placed on her by shaman. As a result of that territorial limitation, she actually almost died during the fight between Alpha Flight and Omega Flight in New York City, and was unable to pursue the Hulk when he headed south into the US after his fight with Alpha Flight in Vancouver. Though not much is known about Snowbird's childhood, she is believed to have actively engaged in battle against such malevolent Arctic entities as Tundra's kind. Shaman commented that although Snowbird had the body of an adult, it was less than 6 years since her birth at that point. When two young men's friends, James McDonald Hudson and Heather Hudson, learned of Naria's powers and origin, they asked the two to join the Canadian super team, the Flight, later known as Alpha Flight. Naria adopted the codename Snowbird and was also assumed the human identity of Anne Mackenzie. She subsequently trained to join the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, eventually working as a records officer in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories, and Snowbird was eventually confronted by her new superior, Chief Inspector Hamilton, for repeated unexcused absences which occurred as a result of her superhero activities. She was subsequently forced to break out of the confinement to battle Kolomak. She then resigned from the force, abandoned the Anne Mackenzie identity, and decided to devote herself entirely to her service in Alpha Flight. Well, that makes sense though. She's got duties she has to perform. And it's hard juggling that personal life and professional life. And I'm actually kind of relieved to see them attempt it here in the comics, because it's always been like so naturally done with everyone else, But let's keep going. During her time as an officer, Snowbird fell in love with her workmate Douglas Thompson. After she entrusted him with her secret, she married him and gave birth to a child. For that, she was cast out by the other Inuit gods and stripped of her divine essence. Later, she was possessed by the villain Pestilence, who tried to drain the lives of her teammates after she took care of Snowbird's family. In a mine in Burial Butte, a town in the Canadian Klondike, Vindicator killed Snowbird with a plasma blast to prevent Pestilence from taking possession of Snowbird's body. Snowbird's spirit passed into the realm of the Inuit gods, but she refused to enter paradise until the gods would also admit her husband and child, which they eventually did. Pestilence's spirit still possessed Snowbird's body and battled Alpha Flight, but was banished by Heather into the void of Shaman's medicine pouch. The mind of her teammate, Walter Langowski, who is Sasquatch, who was at that point trapped in Smart Alec's body, was transferred into Snowbird's body, and the body was eventually altered to resemble Walter's own. Now, years later, Snowbird would return from the dead, rising bodily from her grave. She is again an active member of Alpha Flight and is no longer physically limited to Canada's borders. That's pretty cool. I guess maybe it's because of the whole not being cast out by the Inuit gods, like she made peace or restitution with them, and maybe they used their powers to lift it. That's the only thing I can really think of. Now, much later, time-displaced alternate Snowbird from relatively early in her Alpha Flight career was brought to the present day with her teammates. While most of this group was continuing to act as Alpha Flight in the present day, the temporal copy of Snowbird had married Yukon Jack and become queen of his tribe. During the Secret Invasion storyline, Snowbird is sent by her uncle Hodiak to be part of a team of gods dubbed the God Squad. That's a terrible name. Assembled by Hercules to battle the Skrull gods, for if the Skrulls won, then the gods of humanity would be devoured or enslaved. When approached by the new guardian Michael Pointer, she informs him that due to Alpha Flight's demise, the end of her marriage, and the loss of the Great Beast, she will not join the new Omega Flight team. When captured by Nightmare, it's revealed that her greatest fear is survivor's guilt for not being present at the battle between Pointer and Alpha Flight. During a battle with a group of gods who had been absorbed into the Skrull pantheon, Snowbird changes into Neoktok the Ravager, deadliest of the great beasts of the north. In doing so, she loses her rational mind, attempting to take care of anything in her way. She pulls in all of the fallen gods and seemingly collapses into herself. However, at the last moment, she transformed herself into a swarm of mosquitoes, choosing to honor her fallen teammates by fighting on, and rejoins the battle against the Skrull gods and rescues Cho, who had been knocked out of the palace. She returns at a crucial moment and impales the Skrull god Kliben on the spine of the slain god eater Demogorge, eldest of the Gaia, when the Skrull god is knocked back by Hercules. She later carries a weeping Hercules and Amadeus back to Earth in the form of a great white bird, and sometime later she ends up attending Hercules' funeral. Now, during the Chaos War storyline, Snowbird and Alpha Flight battle Amatsu Mikaboshi's troops. She only just escapes from the Inuit god's realm before her mother is taken care of. And when she discovers that Sasquatch has brought the great beasts of the earth so they can take care of Amatsu Mikaboshi, she is furious and ends up freezing them, after which Mikaboshi impales them. Wow. So this lady has always kind of been like a background character, but she is like insanely powerful. That's nuts. That's nuts. I want to know what you guys think of her history. Let me know in the comments. Like I said, you can catch me on X and Instagram under Super Deep Dive. You can catch me on TikTok under Superhero Deep Dive. You can even catch me on YouTube, which is the best place, under Superhero Deep Dive. I would love it if you subscribed, liked, commented, if you had any questions, comments, concerns, requests for future episodes, fun facts I missed. That is the absolute best place, or whatever you would like to do with the character. I would love it if you did that, because then we go back and forth as a community and we build off each other, and it's great. All I ask is that you be respectful. But in the meantime, let's get into her powers. So Snowbird is a shapeshifter who possesses the ability to change into a pale white version of any creature native to the Canadian Arctic. When she transforms, she gains all the strength and special abilities of what she transforms into. If she becomes an owl, she'd be able to fly. She can draw additional mass from an unidentified and presumably mystical force when she takes on the form of an animal whose mass and volume are greater than her base form, and she sheds this mass upon return to human form. When she takes the form of an animal whose mass and volume are less than those of a human being, she becomes a human-sized version of that animal. Some of the things she's transformed into are a swarm of mosquitoes, a sperm whale, Tenorak, which is the true form of Sasquatch, and the monster Wendigo. She even transformed into a Wolverine and beat Wendigo by ripping him to shreds. However, Snowbird's personality becomes overlaid with the creature traits and instinctual patterns of whatever animal form she's using at the time. Furthermore, the greater the amount of time she spends as a certain animal, the stronger the impression of that animal's psyche is on her personality. If she remains in one form for an extended period of time, she risks having her personality fixed as that type of animal and therefore never transforming back. That's pretty interesting. Also, transforming from one animal to another without first changing into her base form causes her great strain. However, both of these limitations have been reduced or removed following her resurrection, and she has since been shown to talk in animal form, and she transformed from a mountain lion to Wendigo with no strain at all. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. I like this power set though. It's kind of like Beast Boy, right? Alright, she can also transform into a female human being, although her true face is not human. In this form, she has blonde hair and blue eyes, but they are usually depicted as being solid black with white pupils. In her base form, Snowbird has superhuman strength, stamina, durability, agility, and reflexes. Snowbird possesses the ability of post-cognition to envision events that happened up to 6 hours in the past of her immediate present vicinity. She can replay events in the area, but only she is capable of seeing them. And after a battle with the great beast Kalamak, Snowbird was badly wounded, and then suddenly a healing glow came over and all her wounds were instantly healed. Many years after her death, Alpha Flight found Snowbird in a cylinder in the AIM headquarters. They rescued her and determined that she is an advanced form of cellular rejuvenation. Once she was buried and began to decay, this regeneration process was initiated and carried to fruition over a considerable length of time. She also has the ability to fly, and Snowbird has all the knowledge and wisdom of the gods of the Arctic. Being a mystical creature herself, she can pick up and sense various mystical energies from various places, and she has mystical senses enabling her to detect the presence of magical energies or the breaching of a magical field. With this, she can also resist teleportation, and Talisman of Alpha Flight tried and failed to teleport her back to their headquarters. Shaman's binding process initially restricted her from leaving Canada. Upon doing so, she would become weaker, although she once went to the United States with the X-Men and was not affected. This restriction was temporarily lifted by Hodiak when Snowbird joined the God Squad during Secret Invasion. So wow, that's an insane power set. So now I kind of understand the precognition. It's not like you shouldn't have done this. It's not hindsight. It is, if she goes to an area, she can tell what happened there up to about 6 hours ago, which is pretty cool. The bad part is that it's like a power that only she can see, so I can see where that would be a little hard to trust it. You know, like, oh yes, this happened here. These people were attacked, and it's like, well, don't you not like these people? Like, are you sure this is what happened, or is it your own bias? It would just leave too much to question. Does that make sense with everyone? I hope so. I had to get a sip of my Mountain Dew Zero. Alright, fun facts. There aren't a lot, because she's not well known. Snowbird appears in X-Men the Animated Series. This version is a member of Alpha Flight. In Marvel Zombies Dead Days, Snowbird is seen as a zombie attacking Cyclops, but then has a pole stabbed through her brain by Magneto. In the Ultimate Marvel Universe, a Canadian First Nations woman in a white costume named Snowbird attacked the X-Men with the help of the Ultimate version of Alpha Flight. She displayed the ability to fly and to create and control blizzard-like weather patterns due to the mutant-enhancing drug Banshee. Her abilities allowed her to surprise attack Storm and quickly knock the young mutant out of the sky with a localized blizzard. Her identity in this reality's version of Danielle Moonstar, or was Danielle Moonstar instead of Naraya. Now, Deirdre K. of Scary Mommy called Snowbird a role model and truly heroic. Screen Rant included Snowbird in their 10 Marvel Comics gods who should join the MCU Next list. Comic Book Resources, so CBR.com, ranked Snowbird 4th in their 10 most powerful members of Canada's Avengers list, 7 in their 13 most powerful Marvel's Demigod list, and 10th in their 10 most powerful Canadians in Comics list. So, what are my final thoughts on Snowbird? You know, Snowbird was always one of those characters you saw in the background, but never really knew a lot about, you know? I'd like to see something, maybe a mini-series, that really dived into her character. Like, she's got this air of mystery about her, and I'd love to learn more about her. But she's got, like, this godhood about her, and I'd love to see her deal with that. In my opinion, she's got a ton of potential for a good story. And she always comes across as this, like, royal or regal character. So I'd love to delve into that more. I'd love to actually see what she can do. I have a feeling that a lot of the things that she has done has been purely to help feed a story along, and not necessarily for her direct improvement or direct growth, if that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, there's not a lot I can see being done. I I wouldn't mind seeing her in the MCU. I just don't know how they would do it, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. So let me know in the comments. Like I said, you can catch me on X and Instagram under Super Deep Dive. You can catch me on TikTok and YouTube under Superhero Deep Dive. YouTube is the absolute best way to reach out to me. I'd love to see you subscribe, like videos, comment, share, hit the notification bell. Let me know if there's anything I missed, what you would do with the character. If you have requests for future episodes, I'm 100% behind it. Yeah, let's just grow this together. I'd love to hear your opinions of the character and what you would do. And if you want, you can always email me. I get those frequently. My email address is B4, so B4itall @yahoo.com. But I think that's going to do it for me now. I hope everyone is blessed. I hope everyone is happy. I hope everyone is safe. And I hope everyone is smart. But if you're not smart, don't get caught. Alright guys, next week I am covering Puck from Alpha Flight, and I will see you then. Bye-bye.